On this episode of 5 Minutes of Cloud, Software as a Service for enterprise users. So the term software as a service really is a very broad-reaching technology space. It is as a service, so it fits into the cloud services models, specifically because the concept is I have on-demand, scalable, elastic, measured resource that I can consume in a network-attached services space. The most common software as a service offerings that people usually think about are their general applications for business kinds of tools. So this could be like the Google Apps space or the Zoho workforce tools. Classically, document editing and sharing, email and PowerPoint or presentation creation kinds of tools. Those are the common things that people think about when they think about software as a service. And from an enterprise perspective, this is great. I don't necessarily have to now manage and deal with individual per laptop or desktop sorts of tool sets. I can just use them in a network attached kind of space. Of course, there's the inverse issue of that, and I have to be attached to the network in order to use these tools at all. Most tools now have offline versions so that I can actually use this software services and still get the sharing and collaboration benefits on the back end, but can still do that while I'm flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, for example. Now, that's the common conception of software as a service. But what we're really seeing is a big change in how people are consuming software services and using them in meaningful ways. The most common case now, I believe, would be the collaboration services space. So while there have been plenty of tools to enable messaging, so that would be things like email and chat-like functions within enterprises, we're now seeing people using those same functions not just for human-to-human messaging and collaboration and group conversations, but also for machine-to-human and machine-to-machine communications. I think the most popular one at this point in time would be the Slack set of tools, which has the ability to do document sharing and management, has human-to-human communication, has voice communication added. I mean, they keep extending the capabilities just like any other service would. But the more common case that is very prevalent for a lot of users is to have teams use machine interfaces so that their application development processes can update Slack channels and update users that are following those channels with the current state of change of some of the applications that they're running. Another interesting interaction is tools like If This Then That, which is another web scale web service software as a service offering that takes inputs from some online software as a service offerings, and uses them and translates them through other services to a new application output. Commonly, you might take an image that you've posted on one service and post it to another service by modifying it and updating information about that image. That's a simple use case of that kind of a tool. But more importantly, maybe not only do you want to post a message into an online message board when a change has occurred, but you want to also send a message off to an SMS gateway to actually text somebody on a system change. Managing things at that level is kind of interesting, and these are lightweight examples, but the interactions are occurring because the software as a service space has shifted pretty dramatically. The shift comes from the concept of API-enabled services. So whereas the past might have had software services that really only had web interfaces or had applications that were the only way to interface with these online services, the online service almost acted just as a remote data store. Now, with the API models that are existing, and specifically the RESTful API models that exist, it's possible to start using those software services in more of a platform as a service sense, where I'm going to use that to provide some class of resource. Maybe I have object storage that gives me a network interface. That's a piece of software that provides storage of random object files or things of that nature in a network accessible, API accessible fashion. So I've now changed the development environment from having to think about developing individual services and capabilities from the ground up to potentially being able to say, well, there's a piece of software that is available as a service that I want to actually consume as a part of my application development platform. So we're seeing this massive change and shift just driven by the fact that there are now more and more services that can enable software in a completely different fashion. You can now build new tools without ever actually having to write code. You can just do it by stitching together different tool sets. So this is the big change in the software as a service space. And from an enterprise use case, it further accelerates the ability to get work done and to find interesting ways of interacting with resources, collaborating with different team members, potentially even collaborating through other resources and other entities. So software as a service for enterprise is a huge and massively growing space that really provides a lot of value from the cloud services perspective. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. In addition, if you want to stay apprised of the latest ongoing updates in the cloud space, sign up for our Twitter feed and our mailing list. We also update you on upcoming webinars and classes that we provide.